Hello everyone, welcome to the stream. Today we are working on the Bluewater Valley narrow gauge railroad and we'll fix those dependencies. Yeah, welcome everyone. Hello Kango. So yeah, I did some work yesterday, so terrain load in. HD terrain always takes a little moment. Right, that should be it. So, yeah, the route looks a little bit different right now. So basically, what I did, also, I don't know. I think chat will collide with the Rail 2.0. So I will just move the chat like this. And since the contrast against the ground texture is so goddamn great, let's activate the background as well. Move that over there. There we go. I mean it looks a bit shit, but at least now you can read the chat. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe if I extend this all the way here, does that look better? I mean, I guess. Yeah. Better than nothing. All right. So yeah, what I did was first of all I went into Content Manager and looked at all the dependencies that the root had, since I didn't watch for what I was building with when I built all of this, and well, there were a lot of package dependencies, too many. And since I've recently learned that if you want to publish your route to the train store, only download station and modified dependencies work with that, well, I had to remove them. These locomotives are still from a DLC. I'm gonna make it so that the sessions that I include with this route, they will not contain these locos, and then I will publish more sessions on the DLS which will use these. So yeah. Anyways, basically what I then did to remove these dependencies was I created a new Trains Plus instance, and yeah, I only installed the base content. Which means I installed only what was built in, and then I installed, of course, these locos, and then I installed the additional Tane assets for TRS 19 because I consider that equivalent to built in. If someone is gonna have problems with the route, I can just tell them download that, since it is free for everyone who owns TRS 19 and up. So, and yeah, the route didn't look too well, since the ground texture I had used, it was an updated version of the default texture that was included with some DLC that I have. I don't know which one, but yeah. And then quite a lot of assets are also missing now. For example, there used to be a wall here. Yeah, there used to. And then anything else that's like large? Yeah, this brick factory building that was here. Yeah, that also had to go. So I'm gonna look for a replacement for that, and yeah, I'll probably just rip this entire thing out and rebuild it with the new building when I have it. Also, please let me know if the stream is lagging. I see that my preview window is lagging a bit behind, but I'm not sure if that's just like my PC allocating the performance to actually running the game, or if it's due to the stream actually being laggy. Anyway, so yeah, texture wise, I had to repaint everything the same texture, and I'm gonna have to do all the texturing that I already did from scratch. The reason for that is I can show you. So if this is a pretty good example, this stretch of track with the dirt path running next to it. So what I would do is I would take a dirt texture. Where is it? This one. Let's do, I think I did 2 meters. Yeah. 2 meters and a scale of 0.01%, which is equivalent to the old default size on the 10 and 5 meter grid. Let's do 3 meters instead. All right, so just paint the texture underneath that. And then let's do some ballast underneath the track. I'll use the 2 meter radius for that. So it's when was it? This one, I think. Yeah. So, all right. So we now have in this area 3 different textures. We have the dirt texture, we have the grass texture, and we have the gravel texture. So, the way that the HD terrain works is that you can have 3 textures in an area, no problem. The moment you add a 4th texture, you're gonna see artifacts. So let's choose a different grass texture. Let's go for this one. So this is the texture that Eagle uses on his one baseball challenge. And if I try to paint over the grass in between here, yeah, there we go. There we have an artifact. And well, since I was using an asphalt texture here for the road, I was using a gravel texture here, another gravel texture here, then of course the grass texture, and I was using a mud texture underneath this road, and then to do like the like details, the lines that the cars leave, plus then of course the dirt, which I used under this path and over here. And then of course over here I had a different gravel texture that fit this line. And then with all of these textures, oh yeah, and of course I also had a concrete texture that I used like here, and I think that's, yeah, I only used it over here and over here in these little parking lots and like trash areas. But yeah, that makes more than 3 textures, obviously. So if I would have tried to paint over with a different grass texture, the default grass, which I think is really ugly, then that would have resulted in all the other textures getting lots of artifacts, and removing these artifacts is a pain. And I know that because I tried. And I gave up. So what I instead decided was to just take a grass texture that I can work with, and then to just replace the entire root with that, and then just do the texturing completely from scratch, because that's, easier than trying to fix all the artifacts that I would get if I tried to replace all these textures, because these artifacts are nasty. In the actually, yeah. So I'm gonna discard these changes since I didn't do anything. Let me quickly start up the older Trans Plus instance, where I have the original of the road, because before I transferred it over. So of course, this is how it looked before. And this is a really good way to demonstrate these artifacts. But before that, I will read chat. Test message to see when it breaks into the next line. Yeah, chat should be working fine. Could make the black panel a tad narrower. Yeah, I guess. There we go. All right. Lagging a bit, but it's acceptable. That's good. Looks like something N3V needs to fix. Yes, they need to fix that. I agree. The thing is, this now looks strange, seeing the root like this again. Anyways, it is something that N3V needs to fix. The thing is, again, I don't think they really realize how big of a deal it is. Because I have reported the issue during the beta, since I've been using the HD terrain since it was in beta, and I've been working with it on this route since it was in beta. And these artifacts, they just told me, well, it happens because of the lossy compression they use, and to deal with it. Which, I mean, yeah, that's what I'm gonna do, because I don't have another option. But how about you fix your issues instead? Yeah, so over here, I used this dirt texture for some pathing, and also for this footpath. And as you can see, it perfectly follows the track until it suddenly diverges off to the side. And this is not because I wanted it to diverge, but because I was forced to paint it this way, because if I recreate the settings I used, which is 0.5 meter radius and 3% sensitivity, and I try to recreate the original path as I intended it to be, there we go. So we got this lovely artifact. And this is an artifact that cannot be removed. So if I were to grab the asphalt texture and paint over this artifact instead, there we go. And then I can grab the dirt texture and do this, and then I can grab the asphalt texture and do this, and basically I can play this game forever. I cannot remove this artifact. I've tried. Honestly, I've tried. It doesn't work. So, yeah. Yeah, that's the reason the path diverges off to the side. Makes this little curve, which I don't think looks bad. It's just, not the way I tried to do it. But, yeah. I don't know. With most artifacts, they usually get smaller over time as you keep painting over them. But with this one, I can't fix it, honestly. I've tried just painting grass over the entire thing, then paint the dirt back on, and it gives me the same artifact. This, I have changed the direction of the path like 2 or 3 months ago. This was dirt. The route was saved countless times. Could have a tarmac path instead. Well, I want this to be a dirt path, since, you know, that's like what this would be, just a dirt path. I wanted to add like grass, 3D grass all over this place, and then have this like be a little path that cuts through it. I could use a different texture, but the thing is also, I am limited with the number of textures. I can only use 16 textures per baseboard. And in general, that quickly translates to roughly 16 textures per route, because of course you want to have like a concurrent theme going on. You want to have the same textures all over the route. So you might end up with like 13 textures for the entire route, and then per baseboard you have like 3 textures that you can use specifically for that baseboard. And I think that's another issue that they should address, because especially with small routes, 1 baseboard, 2 baseboards, 3, 4, 5, every route that uses just a small number of baseboards is severely limited in what you can do using the terrain, because you do not have enough textures available. Yeah. So yeah, I will just use this as like this route just as reference to recreate the edits on the other version, which I will now use going forward. It will be quite a bit of work to redo all of this, and this should be higher. This is not correct. Still not how I want it to be. I don't know why this is suddenly. Oh, right. I will not change any of this. This might be due to the fact that I'm now running on the standard shader setting instead of extreme, because otherwise I would get random artifacts on the edges of baseboards that I cannot remove. And I mean, I reported that as a bug, and at least they were able to reproduce it, and it's gonna get fixed eventually. The thing is that what they told me was that they were able to remove the artifacts. Well, yeah, I can also remove the artifacts. Do you know how I can? Let me show you. Like this. There we go. No more artifacts. Yeah. Of course, that's not what they meant, but yeah. Any try to remove the artifacts will result in the ground not having the shape that I want. So, I mean, yeah, if I just change the terrain around, then of course I will eventually get the artifacts removed, but I cannot get them removed and preserve the shape of the terrain that I want. So, yeah, not very helpful. At the latest, I'd imagine once S2.0 releases in the base release of Trains without requiring Trains Plus, that issue will be fixed most likely. I hope so. And I mean, of course, you need to differentiate between Surveyor 2.0 and HD terrain, because you need Surveyor 2.0 to edit the HD terrain, but you can use Surveyor 2.0 on just regular terrain. Like if I create some 5-meter baseboards over there. Give it a moment. No? Oh, I did convert. All right. Add 5-meter baseboards. There we go. So these are just 5-meter baseboards. This is a custom just grid texture that has a 1 meter spacing on these narrow lines. So I can just use hide up and just edit the 5-meter terrain. which you know, allows you to use the features of Surveyor 2.0, like, you know, larger brushes, which will of course lag the game out, but it works. Yeah, but so it's not an issue of Surveyor 2.0. Honestly, Surveyor 2.0 is fine for the most part. What it does need, and it needs urgently, is a version of the bulk replace tool. Because currently, if you want to use the bulk asset replace, you will need to do that in Classic Surveyor, which is fine for splines and track and buildings, but it's not fine for textures, terrain textures, because you cannot edit the terrain in Classic Surveyor, so you cannot replace textures using the bulk replace tool in Classic Surveyor, which is like the reason that I had to repaint the entire route in that other texture, because if I had bulk replace, the artifacts wouldn't have been an issue. At least I hope so. I mean, if bulk replace would create these artifacts, then yeah, I'd still probably just cover everything from hand. But yeah, yeah, you didn't mean the HD terrain. Yeah, they do need to fix that. And I hope that they realize how urgent that is. I mean, it was worse when the beta began. Because when the beta began, is it? Oh. So I created this route when the beta first came out. Oh, this looks like a text. Yeah, but it got a bit too much tiling going. Anyways, so I made this this little route. I used some extras, and I tried to use some turf effects, for better or for worse. I honestly, I'm not sure yet what I will use for the Bluewater Valley. Because also in the trains team, they've been doing some multiplayer surveyor sessions, where the Kickstarter Country 2 route, the just base demo route of trains, is getting rebuilt into the HD terrain with the help of the community, which I think is a good thing. And there, the trains team said that they plan on removing TurfFX in the long run and replacing it with a clutter layer that will then also be able to do grass. So it will be more performant, especially on AMD cards, and it will finally work on macOS, which is good for Paradise. Yeah. So yeah, this I used this. This was basically the first time I was really using Surveyor 2.0, because I was forced to do it. And the first time, you know, of course, first time with the HD terrain, and it, you know, it looks fine. This texture here, you might be able to see it here on the edges. There's a different size. I was, you know, messing around with the sizes a bit, and then I painted over just the smaller version of the texture. So something that I should mention is when it comes to the artifacts. You can see one right here. Yeah, why do they happen here? It's just two textures, right? No. First of all, the ground is a couple more textures. Actually, the root is currently filling up the some more artifacts. The root is currently filling up the 16 textures per baseboard limit. At least on like one of these. Is this more than one? This one baseboard? Oh, it is one. All right. For some reason, I remember this being a 2x2. whatever. Yeah, then this is using the full 16 textures. If you have textures of different size, or the same texture but different sizes of that texture, different scaling, or you have different rotation, that will count as 2 textures for the artifacts. It will not affect the like 16 texture limit of the root. You can rotate a texture as much as you want. But yeah, using rotation and scaling will cause artifacts to become visible. And okay, these rendering glitches are just because this texture really isn't meant to be scaled. Yeah. But what's more important is this. It looks fine in this right now. This looks a bit too fine for my life. Let me quickly restart trains with the extreme shader quality. I mean, we won't see any artifacts on the edges of baseboards because single baseboard doesn't have any edges to other baseboards, only to like nothing. So I hope this will make it visible. There's no way for me to recreate this now since the bug has long been fixed and I don't have access to these old beta versions. But what happened was... Yeah. Okay, here you can see this is glitchy. So basically what did happen in the first version is whenever you edited the terrain height, you would get artifacts like little bumps outside your editing radius. So if I did this, then I would have gotten bumps outside the circle. And I think inside as well, but those outside were the larger issue because I didn't want to edit the terrain there. And the issue became worse the smaller your radius got. So with like a 1 meter radius, you would just be painting artifacts all over the terrain. Yeah, so that's how it was in the original version, in the release, or original beta release that first featured HD terrain. And that explains why this little embankment here isn't flush with the edge of the map. Because at the time, you know, I couldn't like continue this with the like terrain tools because I would only create artifacts. On the rest of the route, sorry. On gonna need a drink in a moment. On the rest of the route, what I had to do was I had to use the gradient tool at a like super high radius, like 60 meters, and like 1% sensitivity to, with a single click, smooth out all those artifacts. And that was really tedious. And of course, the moment you did some other terrain height edit, they all came back. I wonder how N3 didn't notice these artifacts before releasing the HD terrain beta to the public. Honestly, I'm not sure how they... Yeah, I think this little bump in here might be some remnants of the artifacts that didn't smooth out too well. So basically what I did to spot these in the first place was I used the grid view. By the way, this is since I don't think, I don't know, does TRS 19 still use the grid by default? I don't remember, but ever since trains started using grass by default, you are able to press F9. You were able to do that before as well, and you would get the transparent round view, And ever since they added the green grass as the base texture, they also added a grid view to bring back the grid on the entire route. And with HD, they shrunk it to 1 meter. So each yellow box is 1 meter, and the gray lines in the middle are half a meter. But this is like way too large. Like if you want to do like, I don't know, you want to build track at like, I don't know, 15 meters apart. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Shit, I miscounted. Yeah. This grid is horrible. I mean, a 1 meter resolution is great, but you need like highlights for more than one, for something bigger than 1 meter, because if you're like, okay, I want 35 meters. With the old grid, that was no problem. That was 3 yellow squares and then 1 of the gray squares. Now it's 35 yellow squares. Yeah. And also, as far as I know, there's currently no ruler in um Surveyor 2.0. So actually, what I haven't tried yet was placing a ruler in Classic. All right, like this. Maybe move it a bit. I don't usually use rulers, because I don't really try to like recreate anything real life. So yeah, all right. So you can you select this? So yeah, basically you would have to do rulers in Classic Survey. But yeah, also the artifacts like between baseboards on the edge there. I don't know how N3 we didn't see that either. Although on the other hand, I personally didn't notice it until like way after the release of HD Terrain. So yeah. Though also the extreme shader preset wasn't there from the start. You can also see here some artifacts. I don't know how these came to be. I think the artifacts just might have been a lot more common in the like first build when I made this. So yeah, not sure. Also, this multiple unit, half of it is just glitched share-wise. I don't know why. When you spawn it in, it's fine, and then when you save and reload the route, or actually, no, not saving and reloading the route, it's restarting the game, because if I were to replace this, then save the route, reload it, it would be fine. If I were to restart the game, you would get this. So, I don't know, don't ask me why. But yeah, so this was my little rise with the HD Terrain. I don't know, it's I mean, my building skills have improved by a lot, which I'm happy about, because honestly, this looks horrible. Yeah, I made these like grass patterns here. Yeah, and they also have lots of artifacts, but I made these when I didn't know about the 16 textures limit per baseboard. So when I went over to paint the dirt here next to the field, it would, as this was the 17th texture, it would remove the 16th, or actually from the previous 16, the least used, which in this case was this field, since it's only this tiny square. And then I would try to paint the texture, and texture removed, and I had the default texture in the square since it replaced field. I don't know what changed that, but yeah, I don't know. Also, the first version of the first beta version with the HD terrain had an issue with the water where it wasn't transparent. So I think it actually looks quite good. Never tried making an Australian route before. Yeah, neither did I. Honestly, this just just wanted to try out the HD terrain. It just happened to be that the buildings and trains I chose just looked Australian. Um, yeah, so um, I didn't go at this like let's build an Australian route. I went at this like let's build a route and make sure it doesn't look too horrible. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, in general, I have so many like discarded projects and trains. Or I do not have them because I've deleted them since because they were in old installations and they weren't worth saving, or I just deleted them because they were just like taking up space in the menu. Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, with the Bluewater Valley, I think I can finally build something productive, which is also what I'm gonna do now because yeah, gotta get some work done. Yeah, so many started routes. Yeah, that's. I mean, it's honestly, it's the same for like EP. Honestly, I've honestly, if I just count the amount of routes that I have started in that game and never finished, yeah, especially EP is another really great case because if you basically when you, it's the same behavior for trains. If you create a new route and then save it, no matter if you hit the save or save as, you will always get the save as dialogue as you know you haven't given it a name yet. Um, but what happens in EEP is that if you have it, if you do that and you just save it under the name new root or the default name, and you then open it again and hit save again, just the regular save, not save as, you will still get the save as dialog because the trigger in EEP is not if you have the project saved already. The trigger is if the project's name is new root. If the project's name is new root, it will show you the save as dialog. Yeah. Been playing Train since 2008 and I've still yet to actually finish a route. Well, I think I've got something ahead of you then, because one, I've been playing Train since like 2004, and two, I have actually finished a route. Um, I just don't have that route anymore. And it also only was one baseboard, and the scenery was shit, but the project was finished, and that all that counts. So, yeah. Poland 1 and Japan 1 routes look best so far out of all the routes that I've started. I don't know. I haven't looked at all your projects yet, just at some of them. Um, yeah. Honestly, I think you should. Just out of curiosity, have you seen pictures of those in my Discord? Again, some of them. I looked at some of the UK routes. Then there was the Moon route. So yeah. Also, I think you should continue that because it's not a new concept, but I think someone should finally make it like a finished route because I have the Trains Complete Collection package from Paradox Interactive, which contains UTC Trains 2004, Trains 2007, which is the German release of Trains 2006. Content-wise, they're identical, just the menu or the like menu background is different. Um, then yeah, and then it included the four content packages, additional content packages, of which one of the files is broken because the disk got scratched. And one of those packages includes a Mars route with like a monorail through like a Mars themed environment and with complete like airlocks and then buildings that are covered under domes with the train going in and out of it through an airlock. So it looks like you actually have like trains or monorails that can enter there, and there's an atmosphere inside. And you even have a screenshot with a monorail on the box, but the monorail isn't included. And I think at the time there was no fitting monorail in the download station. And I don't know why they printed it on the box and didn't include it. But yeah, that's the way they did it. Yeah, there are many Mars assets on the DLS too. Not actually that. The Mars is like the maglev monorail, so like magnetic levitation. The route that's included with Trains the Complete Collection is a traditional monorail. So the train's actually set on the rail and it has wheels. It's just that it's one rail. Like those that you find at theme parks quite often. So yeah, it's just that there's the route, but there's no way to run on that route. Yeah, since I think there are now compatible assets on the DLS, since it's been time, and the track they used is like the standard for monorail stuff, but at the time you couldn't run the track or the route, and yeah, that wasn't so great. Yeah. Anyways, yeah, but honestly, like route set in space, I really like that concept, and honestly, just go nuts with it. Like, it's fantasy. You can't do anything wrong. Yeah. Anyways, so this route. Right now, it's just a grid of the same texture, and luckily, this texture doesn't have like a super small grid effect. It is only in the distance that you notice the grid, and this size of grittiness I can just break up by using different textures in between, like some for forests, some for cliff faces. And what's also really powerful is the color effect layer. So if I were to set this green like this and then paint it on here like this, and then I set it to a more yellow and do this in between here, you don't even notice that it's all the same texture. This is really powerful. And do like more darkish. Right, let's dark. Maybe more bright is better. So yeah, just blend this in a little bit. Yeah, doesn't even look like the same texture anymore. So that's also why I chose this, because this is like a quite a pale color mostly. So I can easily just put the rest of the color on top. Anyways, I think I should read chat a bit more. Hello, Code Monkey. I wonder what happens if you call it test route in AEP then. Not that such perfect program would ever have needed testing. Yeah. Test route doesn't trigger anything. It's only the default new route name that triggers the save as dialog. But yeah, EEP has a lot more issues than that. I don't know if you heard the story already. I've told it once. Just that friend of mine is running Linux as his main operating system, and he tried to run EEP using Wine and the Wine-based Proton compatibility layer from Steam, and that didn't work. And the reason it didn't work was because of the game's DRM. And so he decompiled the game and tried to fix the issue, find out how the DRM works so that he could get it to run on Linux. He didn't try to break the DRM. He had a legit copy. He just wanted his legit copy to work correctly. But what he found was lots of typos in the code. And the reason for that is that EEP is made by Polish developers whose studio is owned by a German publisher, and not even like a video game publisher. I think they started out as like a book publisher, and they just like ended up, I don't know, buying the idea of EEP for whatever reason, and then yeah, they buy the rights to the name and stuff, and been selling it ever since. Don't ask me why, but that's how it is. And like these developers they wrote, they are Polish, and they wrote their code in a mix of German and English, and it's a total mess. It's a total mess, and not to mention that their code is like really slow, and also like EEP is like horribly out of date in terms of just like its graphics. I mean, Trains is still using DirectX 11 with DirectX 12 rendering at least coming soon. TM. I mean, it is in alpha according to N3V, so I don't know, like maybe a year or so until it's fully released. But EEP is still using DirectX 9 rendering, and it's been using that like ever since it switched away from DirectX 8. So like I don't know, way over 10 years. And I don't know why they haven't upgraded to DirectX 10. Maybe because they don't know how to. I mean, honestly, they've shown lots of signs of the developers not being the smartest. And I'm not trying to be like mean. It's just that from like the way their code is written and stuff, it's obvious that they do not know a lot about developing games. Yeah. And also I think it's like quite a few community members are in the are or have close contact or somewhat close contact with the publisher, since of course every asset creator needs to enter a business contract with them and stuff. And some of them are also beta testers. And I have heard a few times already that the publisher Trend is like basically about to just about to go bankrupt for like the last couple years, since they haven't been selling enough copies of EEP and not enough plugins. Because if a new feature gets released for an existing version, of course you don't just get it for free. You need to buy a plugin. And I think like the most plugin heavy version of EEP has like seven or eight plugins. That would be EEP 7, which was the first to have the new asset format and tons of features that I personally now take for granted in EEP weren't in the base release of EEP 7. And I did some calculations of what the prices were. They're not listed for sale anymore, but I still remember what the prices were. And with the base game, EEP 7, plus plus all the plugins that were released. Plus, I think I'm also counting into it the price of the asset converter, since of course when you came from EP6 and had a lot of assets that you wanted to convert, yeah, they basically price-wise, the final version of EP7 with all of its plugins would cost you as much as a 2-year subscription for Trains Plus. 2 years. So, yeah. And I mean, at least when you bought a plugin, you will get some money off the full release of the next EEP version. So if you had all the plugins for EP7, you would get EP8 for half the price. I think that was generally, if you have all the plugins, it's half off. So yeah, considering that a new release is often pretty much feature identical with the previous release plus all its plugins, yeah, I don't know. It's anyways. I wanted to do some building. Yeah, that's what I wanted to do. Recipe for success, right? I had to read code written in Czech once. Oh no, yeah, that's yeah. I can imagine. Slide off topic. Did you hear about Transim World 4 being announced? Yes, I learned about it through your posts on Discord. Although I probably would have seen the Steam announcement, but yeah, I've heard of it. Among other things, they'll include bonus content for the Niedertalbahn, a DB Regio red livery for the 628. I want to see that. Okay. So that's the red livery. So that's literally what's available through mods and through the livery designer and content creator club already. Sure. Let's pay money for that. Yeah, I don't know. It's, I mean, in the past, I could understand, or like when they, since the thing is, I originally had bought Trains in World CSX Heavy Haul, and I then continued with buying the DLCs for that. Then the full release rolled around, and then eventually they announced Ransom World 2. And I could understand that they would do that, because they did add a bunch of new features and all, and I could somewhat understand it. Yeah, so then they did that, and then they did the and they also they made a big jump in the Unreal version. They jumped from like 4.06 to 4.26 or something. So they skipped like a lot of versions. Twitch didn't notify me you're live. Hello, BGRO. Or however your name's pronounced. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing it. Yeah, welcome. I saw that you'd followed me earlier. Yeah, sorry that Twitch didn't notify you. I've seen Twitch notifications not really like work correctly. I mean, although I at least on my phone I have that with like a lot of notifications. Like I get Instagram notifications sometimes like a day or two late. I've gotten a notification about a missed call, a call that I missed 20 days ago, and where I had already called back, but for some reason the notification was delayed. Yeah, you nailed it. That's good. Thank you. That's nice. That's a good point. I wish they had stuck with one game, Ransom World, and just did updates to it. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, they even did they did the Rush Hour update for Ransom World, and then they did Ransom World 3. And I was already like, do you really have to do another one? So yeah, and I already didn't like it that much, but I still bought it because at least the root package was decent. Um, yeah, and then they said, I think they said that they are only gonna do like an engine update once a year. Um, and I was fine with that. Um, and yeah, and at least Trains World 3 also included some new features that I also really liked, like the updated clouds, in general, the new rendering for the new routes, which does look better. And yeah, now it's Trains World 4, and they are releasing updates to existing features, and they're releasing the Unreal Dev Kit, which they promised years ago and then didn't release, or they just it got like delayed, and they made announcements why it's getting delayed and that they are still gonna release it, and then there was like half a year of silence, and then they said we're not gonna release it for some strange reasons that don't really make sense to me. Like they mentioned some licensing stuff, and that they would have to control what kind of brands get used in user generated content, or they might get legal issues. Like, as far as I know, that's not how it works. If a user uses your editor to create content, and in their content they pirate someone's identical property, that's their problem, and they are gonna get sued about it, not you as the creator of the editor. And I mean, it works for Trains as well, right? Like, Trains doesn't have to remove all editing features because, I don't know, CSX might sue them over stuff on the download station. Yeah. So, and yeah, it's like, I mean, I know, I'm pretty sure I know why they are doing it. They're doing it because they need money, and they're running out of money. Um, So, I mean, they do have the preservation team, which updates old content, which is good, I think, but um, it's not worth a lot if you cannot, like, um, pay for all of that. And I mean, of course, that creates a running cost, but I do not think that creating more and more um, mm, releases of Transcend World is like a solution for that. Um, Honestly, but that's just my opinion. I mean, train of course for trains they also develop new features and that costs money. But there you have like releases every couple of years that add a lot of new features. And of course, if you want early access, you can subscribe to Trains Plus, which is what I'm doing. And I honestly do think that it's worth the money. Um, Also because this is like I'm paying $70 a year for this subscription. That's like buying a major Trains release once a year. But like the like deluxe version of Train Sim World 4 is gonna be like over over $100. Sorry, I really need a drink right now. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. Yeah. So where was I? Transcend World. So honestly, I'm fine with them like, I don't know, having costs, running costs to upgrade existing content, but I do not think that to do that they should do these like yearly or bi-yearly re-releases of just the same game with like some features added. Especially since you will have to buy that to keep getting new content. Whereas with games like Trains, you can still, like TRS 19, use most of the content on the DLS and use most of the content of the Train store. And only when the new content actually utilizes the new features do you need a newer version of Trains. So yeah, I don't know. Not really a big fan of what Dovetail Games is doing there. All right, so let's actually do some route building because that's what we're all here for. Let me read chat on the side though. We do not Instagram here. We only Discord and YouTube. Yeah, I just used that as an example for my phone delaying notifications for whatever reason. As for Elisa, who you may or may not know, she isn't here, but she will seep in. All right. Okay. I don't know her, but I guess I'm gonna get to know her. From launch, Transcend World 4 will include yeah, new routes, new locomotive, and upgrades for existing content. Honestly, that's not enough to warrant new content or a new release of the game. And I mean, yeah, they do have the like new content in, or the new features in the base game, but those features are all like just I don't know, they don't really affect gameplay directly. They're all just you know, they're all just features with like, I don't know, what do they have there? They have they got the update to the Creation Club. Oh, no, wait, Creation Club was Fallout. The whatever their scenario planner and repaint sharing platform is. They got that. Then they got like yeah, the editor. They are finally releasing after years. It's no new features that like impact new routes or the functionality of them. So I don't know why you should be forced to buy the new version of the game just to get those routes. I mean, at least with Transcend World 3, they added the new lighting and new sky. But as far as I know, Transcend World 4 doesn't have any new features in that regard. So I don't know. This is all actually the way I want it. Height-wise. East Coast Mainline is just Doncaster to Peterborough. Yeah, I don't know how much of it that is, but it's not that much, right? I mean, honestly, when they released the um, Kassel to Würzburg route um, for um, Transom World 3 in the release package, that was like freaking huge. That route. Like that was, I think, at that point the largest they had ever done. And like in general, with like comparing it to what other train games have to offer, um, that's like really huge. So I'll give them that. I never would have expected them to do like that long of a route. Although even with it being that long, it's still boring. Why? Because it's a high-speed line. You're only driving LZB there, and that just means, like pressing the CFA button every 30 seconds. And the rest your train will do automatically. So I don't know. Where was I? Elisa, damn right. Hello, Elisa. Elisa's the big one in the middle. Okay. The other two are Catherine and Cleo. Alright, I'll try to remember that. To be fair, there is an 8,000 word roadmap article on the website, which I haven't fully read. Ransom World 4 will also include improved overhead catenary rendering. I don't know, since when has the catenary rendering been an issue in Ransom World? I mean, maybe it's like performance heavy, but like visually, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. Better rain effects on windows and passenger model updates. Some also have luggage, coffee cups, and phones now. Okay, I mean that does sound like a neat thing. But honestly, is that worth paying like 50 to $100 for it? And like having it be branded as Trains in World 4? Like honestly, that just, first of all, the passenger stuff just seems like stuff that they should have already included with the Rush Hour update for Trains in World 3 or 2. Was it 2? I think it was 2, right? Do not show her on stream unless you want to really know Monka W fans. Okay. No idea what you're talking about. Or rendering a new rendering. Okay. So, just to show this, the catenary will look better in the distance. Okay. Sure. But that's still not worth a whole new version of Train Sim World. That's just an update. Well, anyways, let's get back to this. So, there's also a tool to there's also a tool to remove the vertex height adjustment. So I mean, I guess I can just grab this and then add this to all of these, since it's all on a flat gradient anyways. So yeah. Better yet, let's leave it at that. Yeah, since I have no idea what you're talking about. You're right. I also wish they just include all of that stuff in an update. Can't really change it. Yeah, I mean that's what it's gonna boil down to. Am I willing to spend the money to like be able to keep buying new trends and world routes and to like experience the new features, which I still like, I don't know, want to experience. And I mean, it's not the features that are bad, so I guess I'll end up spending some money on it. I don't know yet. Like, am I willing to spend money on Trains in World? Yeah, and I mean, I am getting a lot of routes for it as well. So, no, but like for the highest tier version, like 105 euros, that's definitely too much. You can turn it around in any way. It's too much. So, yeah. Anyways, yeah. So I'm just working on this station a bit. Um, I'm adding a turning loop here instead of just like a dead end. Because I want to have one of these at least somewhere on this route. I'm usually not a big fan of like just turning loops, especially in like Railroads Online or similar games where you build your own and you're thinking to be the most efficient, and in the end you just end up building a huge turning loop. But to me that always seems incredibly unrealistic. Um, Although especially on like narrow gauge routes, smaller narrow gauge routes, I think these were actually used because they're like dirt cheap. And in my city, even the trams have turning loops at some of their terminal stations, even though the vehicles got caps on either side, so they could just turn around a dead end. But yeah, turning loops seem to be something that are wanted for some reason, and I like having at least one of them here. And I think this is a good place for it, especially since I plan on running at least or having at least one scenario which will run a local haul train up here, so you can just like park it in here. Yeah. And then I'll have to worry about connecting it down to this station. Um, I have a feeling that just going the direct route will be way too steep. Let's check that. Yeah, 12% gradient, that's way too steep. Although that's less than I expected, because when I had this plan out, you know where my planning uh my planning track went along? Oh, wait. There we go. So my planning track went up like this. At a, let's see, 24, 27. Yeah. It was steep. Way too steep. So yeah, I had to go the long way up this mountain because from like this bridge up to this station up here, it's like over 100 meters in height difference. Um, which is like way more than it looks like if you have the camera this far away. So yeah, I really didn't like realize the height difference that I'm working with until I started the first line or the first part of the track going up there, and I was like, okay, let's keep the gradient at like under 6% so that the locals can still get up there. And I was building it and I was like, okay, I'm gonna need a whole lot more track to go around this mountain to manage that height difference. So I'm thinking if we make the track go around here. Oops. Yeah, I mean, it's currently the gradients are bugged. So if you build a gradient, it's gonna appear to not be there at first, but after you reload the route, it's gonna be there. So yeah, better fix that immediately. Right, so if we have this going around like this, and then like this around here, and then meet the other track. Would that work? Hopefully. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna rotate this station a bit more to the side. And then we can connect this up somewhat. This is all not final, so not gonna worry about it being like realistic and following the terrain right now. All right, so this should maybe go like further down height-wise. Yeah, that should be good. And then do I want these to immediately curve with the platform just continuing straight? Actually, what I might want to do is test if the platform height is and distance is even like good, because I kind of have the feeling that this will not look like, you know, good. So let's see. Actually, that's fine. Just gonna put another platform over it to have it closer the track, but that is fine. Mind the gap. Yeah, this is pretty large gap. Although people will exit this. People will jump across this gap. I know, because I've seen it. Because we have at one station, it was an online video, but we basically have like a switch that's still like at the platform, and one of the tracks, stupid train, go back there. One of the tracks goes off to the side quite a bit, and so a car, a train came in. The driver stopped too early. One car was still like hadn't passed the switch yet, and there was like I think about this much of a gap in there, and yeah, people just jumped that gap. They do not care. Which which is the reason that we actually are really careful if we do happen to stop at a platform that we're not supposed to stop at because there's a signal, or because because we just stopped a bit too early or too late. We are really careful about opening the doors or just moving the train, keeping the doors closed, because people do not care. They will leave the train by any means necessary, even if that means jumping half a meter of a gap. Elisa, what are you making here? I'm making the Bluewater Narrow Gauge Railroad. So this valley is the Bluewater Valley. The city that is due for construction in this valley is Bluewater City. This is Bluewater Central, or at least it's going to be once I actually fill in the platforms. And yeah, there's a narrow gauge railroad running all over the Bluewater Valley, connecting this soon to be retextured limestone quarry and the logging camp up here, the sawmill further down into the valley, the main yard where everything gets loaded onto the standard gauge railway for export, and of course the not final power plant, which I decided will use the sawdust from the sawmill. I looked it up. Using sawdust in power plants is a real thing that is done around the world. So it's fine. I'm gonna do it. And yeah, there's gonna be all these little stations in these hills where small settlements are that are connected by the narrow gauge railroad. This is a fictional route. Yes, it is. So yeah, it is fictional. I created it using the height maps, the displacement maps. I think I used one of the valley ones. Might have been this one or this one. I don't remember which one it was. It was one of these three valley ones. I used this to do the I just wanted to try it out if it works. So actually I do need to head off now. Looks nice. It was nice to chat. Thank you, Kango. Bye bye. Have a great day. So, anyways, I just plopped down 32 baseboards in a random pattern, applied the displacement map by selecting all the baseboards, clicking apply height map, and then it applied. And it was really rough because the height map is, of course, a really low resolution. It's not meant to fill like 32 baseboards. But it worked. So it was very rough terrain with like I think like 5 or 10 meter like squares everywhere in the height difference. But I was able to smooth that out. I finished smoothing the terrain a couple days ago. And yeah, basically, I just wanted to try if this was a viable option to do like pre-generated in air quotes terrain for trains, and it did work. And I never really planned for this to become an actual project of mine, but kind of just happened. So, you know, nothing I can really do about it now. I've started it, and I'm at least gonna try to finish it. So yeah, that's where I'm now. I've smoothed out all the terrain. I've added more baseboards. This is now, I think if I didn't miscount, this is 53 baseboards in total now. Because originally, like, these baseboards, this row here, didn't exist. So the map just ended here, and this quarry, even though I always imagined it to just be a giant hole in the ground, it was an open hole to the side. And I originally planned to leave it that way. That was until I converted this route to HD terrain, which removed the side borders of the terrain. And then I was like, okay, it looked like a model railway layout before. It now looks like shit. Let's add more baseboards. And yeah, I think I did a pretty good job of integrating them to the terrain. I mean, you probably didn't realize that this baseboard wasn't there before, or that these two baseboards weren't here before. So yeah, I think I did a good job. Yeah, so now I'm just finishing up the track work, and then I'm gonna do like terrain embankments and all the required terrain adjustments for the track. And then I'm gonna start with yeah, with like I think streets and roads would be a good place to start. Probably for the outer parts of the map, just preparing the forest, which I'm trying to or the forest that I will put around it. This is gonna be mostly pine forest on the top of the mountains, and more like mixed, or more like more open grassy fields with like mixed trees down here. Although of course there's gonna be a medium-sized city in this valley, so um not gonna have much space for like fields and stuff. Although I do plan on putting a bit of agriculture in here on the flatter parts. I don't know. I'm taking most of my inspiration from the Harz Mountains in Germany, because those are the only mountains I ever visited myself. And then yeah, the rest of it is just like, I don't know, other video games and how they do it. The trains maps, OMSI maps, other train simulators, stuff like that. If you want to know more info about Elisa, DM me on Discord. I think I'm good for now, at least. I don't know. I really don't have that much time in the moment, so yeah. And also I'm currently not in the mood to do like this track properly. So I think what I am gonna do is taking care of this tunnel. And oh, for fuck's sake, I haven't even replaced the rack there yet. Not what I wanted. That's what I wanted. All right, so let's replace this. Originally, I only had a portal over here for the trains to go into, but then I decided that it wouldn't hurt to put an actual tunnel in there, and then yeah, I built this giant spiral because I really wanted a bridge to cross this little hole here. So yeah, to manage that height difference and to keep the grade at something that the trains can actually take, I had to build this giant circle. And then I had to extend the terrain all the way back here. So this is just some rougher shaping I did. This is just gonna be covered in forest. And this is, including with this barrier down here, all just to provide shadow for that tunnel, because if you do not have terrain on top of it to cast a shadow, you're gonna have light shining into the tunnel, and you know, tunnels, since they're underground, usually do not have lights in them. I think. I hope. Anyway, so gonna sink this tunnel into the ground, and then what I imagined was the tunnel emerging over here and then passing by the quarry. But I have since decided against that, and I think I'm just gonna put a portal in the ground here somewhere, because these tunnels are a pain to work with, and also I really like the look of the terrain as it is now, and I don't want to cut through it with like standard gauge tracks. And then of course, if I put it in another tunnel here, then I would have trouble fitting the portal in here before the map ends, and I really don't want to have, like, I don't know, you look through this little canyon I made and you see just like the track of a portal sticking out. I don't want that. So I'm just gonna avoid the problem altogether by putting portal in the ground over here. Not going to deal with it. Also, the tunnel entrances and exits are a pain to build, so this is gonna save me quite a bit of work. All right. Idea what the heck? Basic and regular port. No idea what the difference is other than one not having rails. This doesn't make any sense. I'll stick to the regular one. I mean, it doesn't really matter. It's underground. It's where trains go to vanish, so put this lower than -10. It's not what I want. Okay, -10 +20. Sure. I know a solution to that problem. And this is not the solution, but this is. Because Surveyor 2.0 can do quite a lot. For example, it can move objects in ways they are not supposed to be moved. So, since this is all going uphill, I'm gonna put this slightly higher than the track already is, like that. Then, no, that's not what I wanted. Somewhat. Actually, just do that in classic. Can I not? Okay, sure. All right, there we go. That solves the issue. So just gonna like that. Take this there, and there we go. Gotta adjust the height a bit. Let's check the grade. 3.14, that's fine. And this part 6.7, that's also fine. And then that, of course, straight. There we go. One less problem for me. All right. Let me check the time. All right, it's 6 p.m. now. Since I wanted to keep this stream a bit shorter, I'm gonna call it here. I'm gonna do more Bluewater Valley streams in the future. I'm gonna do a bit more work off stream. But yeah, for now, that's about it. A lot of the stuff like the terrain embankments and of course recreating the lost progress due to the retexturing of the terrain. I'm gonna probably do all of that off stream just because it's very tedious and very boring. And as we now have seen, I'm getting easily distracted on stream. So yeah, bye everyone. Have a great day, have a nice time, and see you for the next stream.